Roger that, Tower. Coming in. We've reached the carrier, Colonel Griggs.
We'll be arriving at the island in just a few hours from now, Dr. Jackson.
Have you heard any news on Dr. Skinner?
No, we haven't located her yet. The recon camera shows that the enemy creatures are getting stronger.
Is everything an enemy to you, Griggs? Dr. Ingrid Skinner and several Theroid specimens disappeared 6 months ago, only a few days before the start of our breeding program. Colonel Franklin Griggs was assigned to find Ingrid and the missing creatures. He claimed he didn't need my help.
Our satellites detected this aberration in the South Pacific last week. These islands are exhibiting abnormally high biothermal readings, a high radioactivity reading on the main island. A high-definition camera identified the thermal source, Dr. Skinner's creatures. She's running the operation from the main island. That explains the radiation.
Just what makes you think she's running the operation?
Well, because I have you and Andrews right here on this ship. It couldn't be anybody else. Now, ground troops tried to sedate the creatures, but the neural pattern regulator didn't even phase them.
Not working. Let's get out of here.
But there's no reason for Ingrid to breed the control functions out of the Theroids, Griggs.
According to intelligence, she's breeding an army of unstoppable killers. And if that's the game she's playing, we've got to learn how to fight fire with fire.
So why not just drop a few thousand bombs on the islands, Colonel? Isn't that what you people do best?
Look, Jackson, we may not have found all the creatures yet. What if Skinner releases a herd of these killer creatures on one of our cities? We can't just start dropping bombs on our own people.
No, Griggs. I've worked with Ingrid for 9 years. This just doesn't add up.
Like it or not, Jackson, you made those creatures. Now it's up to you to breed an army that will defeat Skinner's mutations. Your lab's ready. Dr. Andrews is waiting for you. I suggest you get down there and get to work.
When Andrews and Skinner and I started this project, we were hoping to genetically engineer a nutritious food source that could put an end to hunger on this planet. I couldn't imagine what the hell was going on in Ingrid's mind.
Hey, Ted, looks like we're in business again, huh?
Nice to see you again, Andy. Can we turn this warship into a decent laboratory?
No problem, Doc. We've converted the carrier's hangar deck into a habitat for the Theroids, and we can control everything from this command center right here. Hydraulics raise and lower the habitat walls, and you can force the food supply up through the floor surface. You can take creatures out of cold storage and inject them in the SNI lab. Not all the lab modules are up and running yet, but we have injected some control groups and put them into pens, so whenever you're ready, just crank up the old neural pattern regulator and we're on the road again.
It was time to go to work. I was finally going to see my creations in action.
Zooming in. Zooming in. Zooming out. Zooming in. Zooming out. Zooming out. Inspecting behavior. Habitat control. Decreasing food. Increasing food. Wall. Food control. Inspecting behavior. Habitat control. Digitalize. Zooming in. Zooming in. Zooming out. Zooming in. Zooming out. Zooming in. Zooming out. Wall control. Inspecting behavior. Habitat. Accessing computer. Wall control. Inspecting behavior. Zooming in. Zooming in. Zooming out. Habitat wall control. Food control. Wall control. Digitalize. Decreasing food. Increasing food. Increasing food.
I've got more modules installed, Doc. You can start making your own creatures now with the synthetic neural injector, and you can transport them around in the lab. You'll notice the new mutation inducer. It's got 3 settings to increase diversity.
Is the database online?
No, not yet. But the census button calls up a display that monitors desire levels.
Good work, Andy. Now let's lean on that mutation inducer and get these babies humming.
Injecting creatures. Wall control. Inspecting population. Habitat control. Injecting creatures. Food control. Injecting creatures. Increasing, injecting creatures. Injecting creatures. Wall control. Injecting creatures. Injecting creatures. Inspecting population. Quantizing genes. Quantizing needs. Habitat control. Decreasing mutation. Wall control. Food control. Inspecting population. Inspecting population. Accessing computer.
Got the database running, Doc. Also, you can highlight the fighting and mating behavior with the scanner module.
We'll be arriving at the first island at 0700 hours, Jackson. Be ready to take your troops ashore when we get there.
Well, Andy, let's get our troops ready.
Decreasing mutation. Increasing mutation. Decreasing mutation. Accessing database.
It's showtime, Jackson. Are you ready to go to battle stations now?
I need a little more time, Colonel Griggs.
This is a battle, Jackson, not a chess match. Now click on the comm system when you're ready.
Scanning, fighting, behavior. Scanning, mating, behavior. Scanning, fighting, behavior. Injecting, creatures. Inspecting, behavior. Inspecting, accessing database. Transporting creatures. Inspecting behavior. Scanning, scanning, mating behavior. Scanning, fighting behavior.
Good. Now we've learned that our creatures don't recognize her creatures as friendly. So all hell should break loose at the first drop.
Aircraft loading. Loading cargo. Loading troops. Satellite. Aircraft loading. Loading troops. Satellite view. Aircraft loading. Loading cargo. Loading troops. Satellite view. Satellite beam. Island briefing. Island terrain mostly even, some rocky. Food supply low. Inspecting behavior. Zooming in. Zooming out. Satellite. Satellite beam. Satellite view. Friend. Enemy. Friendly. Enemy. Scanning. Fighting. Battle score. Changing time. Changing time frame. Zooming out. Island briefing. Island aircraft loading. Loading troops. Satellite view. Enemy. Friendly troops. Friendly troops. Enemy troops. Scanning. Satellite beam. Scanning troops. Satellite view. Aircraft loading. Battle score. Island briefing. Island terrain. Mostly inspecting behavior. Satellite view. Inspecting behavior.
Blue buzzer, clear for landing. Roger that, tower, coming in. We've reached the carrier, Colonel Griggs.
We'll be arriving at the island in just a few hours. Radiation.
Just what makes you think she's running the operation?
Well, because I have you and Andrews right here on this ship. It couldn't be anybody else. Now, ground troops tried to sedate the creatures, but the neural pattern regulator didn't even phase them.
Not working. Let's get out of here.
But there's no reason for Ingrid to breathe the control functions out of the Theroids, Griggs.
According to intelligence, she's...
To find Ingrid and the missing creatures, he claimed he didn't need my help.
Our satellites detected this aberration in the South Pacific last week. These islands are exhibiting abnormally high biothermal readings, a high radioactivity reading on the main island. A high-definition camera identified the thermal source, Dr. Skinner's creatures. She's running the operation from the main island. That explains the...
on Dr. Skinner.
No, we haven't located her yet. The recon camera shows that the enemy creatures are getting stronger.
Is everything an enemy to you, Griggs? Dr. Ingrid Skinner and several Theroid specimens disappeared 6 months ago, only a few days before the start of our breeding program. Colonel Franklin Griggs was assigned